Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Partnerships SaaS. I'm your host, Barrett King, and with me today is the one and only Pete Caputa. He's the CEO and founder of Databox, and actually the original guy at HubSpot, the one that helped us figure out how to partner with agencies and help them grow better. So I think you're probably, at the risk of saying this out loud, one of my favorite guests to have on this show. I'm fired up to hear your thoughts.
Honored.
It's a big honor.
I'm honored to be your favorite guest.
I love it, man. I love it. And you know, it's funny. You're like, when I think about partners, when I think about ecosystem, I love all the buzzy words here. I think of Pete Caputa.
Oh, wow.
But what's interesting is you're more than that, right? Because you've built a really successful business with Databox. What's intriguing about it, though, is it's fairly partner-led. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So 40% of our subscriptions are agencies, marketing agencies who buy our software and pay for like a master license that they use with multiple clients. And then that's more than 50% of our revenue. So yes, I think it's fair to say that we are focused on partners, agencies as our partners. And then we do a variety of things to go to market with them too, which helps them get clients, helps us get direct customers as well.
Let's talk about that. So, all right, you decide, and I want to talk about the genesis of this at some point too, but you decide, I'm going to build this company. We're going to do some cool shit. We're going to help people. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I'm going to align to these businesses that are already delivering value to their customers. What's some of the sort of early ideology, the ideation around how do you do that? Because you're describing you give value to them, you do other things in terms of go to market with them now.
Yeah. Where
does that start? How does this whole thing start for you?
Well, it started I literally left HubSpot and started at Databox the next day. In fact, my employment, don't tell anyone, overlapped by a day for investing reasons.
I'll tell nobody. Don't worry. I'll tell nobody.
So it started then, and I just started introducing the Databox software and its carrot state to agencies. I'd actually spent a bunch of time with the founder before I joined, on my own time, just to kind of evaluate the business, and got some feedback even before I joined from agencies. And the problem we identified really early on was that agencies were spending a bunch of time cutting and pasting screenshots and data into either, slides or PowerPoint, or literally putting data into spreadsheets and creating graphs. They were spending a lot of manual time trying to show the results of the work that they were performing for clients. And so that initial idea was just all right, let's automate some of this. They shouldn't have to log into X number of tools and paste data and graphs into decks. And so that was the genesis of it. It was just that one little problem. We've since, of course, expanded beyond that, but that was the start.
But it's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're describing is you observed a problem, you have a solution to that problem, you took it and said, we'll apply it to their model and overlay Databox the solution in their own go-to-market and the way they deliver value to their customers. Yep. So then you said a couple minutes ago, whatever, this idea of overlaying in other go-to-market values. So what do you do now with partners? Fast forward a couple of years, obviously, but what are you doing now alongside those partners? Co-marketing, co-selling? What's the model look like?
So co-marketing, and I classify it really as old school true reselling. So they buy a license and they just pay us based on the volume of usage of that license. So it's actually based on the number of data sources that they have. So if they connect, say, HubSpot Marketing, HubSpot CRM, and Google Analytics, and Facebook ads and Google ads, that's 5 data sources. And our agency customers pay a $2 per data source for that. So they might have one client with 5 data sources, and they're paying us $10 a month for that client on top of the base fee of our product. It'd be like if at HubSpot, an agency bought the license once and then they just paid for all the contacts across all their clients, for example. That would be kind of the way it is.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bunch of models like that. I think Klaviyo does that, or SharpSpring. One of the other ones that's in the space, at least the MarTech space, does a version of that.
I'm pretty sure the heat mapping tools Hotjar, and then SEMrush does that. SEMrush is probably the biggest one that does that, where it's based off of you add clients and projects and clients into the account, and then you're paying for the overall data you're pulling and stuff like that.
Yeah, the output of it. So they're reselling. How are you giving value to them? You said go to market together, right? So what are some of the things you're doing around that to support lifting them up, helping them gain more reach?
Yeah. So, so on the co-marketing side, we recently launched this new product. It's a standalone product. It integrates with our current product and shares authentication and shares a common system for connecting other tools to it itself. But it's a separate product from a UI, UX perspective, and it's called Benchmark Groups. It allows an agency to create a group of companies and benchmark them using data from 50 plus of our 70 integrations. And so they can go in and say, I'm going to create a benchmark group just for HubSpot and Google Analytics and Google Search Console data for law firms. So we have an agency called Good to Be Social. They have like 60 plus law firms as clients. And so they went in and said, how should a website for a law firm perform? And we're going to aggregate the data from clients and be able to share that back with our clients and say, hey, you're performing better here and you're performing below average here, below median here. Let's talk about how we can improve that. And then it's a free tool both for the agency to build that group and also for their prospects or clients to join. And so the agencies are also using it in their marketing and their sales qualification process. So from a marketing perspective, they're saying, hey, we have a proprietary benchmark of just law firms and how law firm websites perform, and they're publishing some of that data. And then from a sales qualification perspective, if somebody says, oh, I want to benchmark my marketing performance, they put them in there and they could get on a call and say, all right, well, just like with clients, they can say, hey, you're over and underperforming in these areas. Let's talk about how you could improve that. And so that's one way we're doing it. It's like I would say we're helping them, of course, set it up and all that. But for the most part, it's pretty self-serve co-marketing for them in that we don't have to really be involved in order for them to build it or to grow it.
That's smart. So it's the other PLG, partner-led growth, that you guys are really focused on.
Yeah. So it's kind of a combination, right? There's a product-led component to it and a partner-led component to it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so if I were to say something to the effect of like, you're the godfather of like MarTech and agency partner ecosystem, cutting edge ideology, right? Lots of buzzwords there, but like it's ideology. Yeah. This concept, I want you to write a book. There's a concept that I'm just fascinated by. I'm going to tell the story the way that I heard it. Okay. You tell me how wrong I am, because I know there's like 50 versions of this. But the story I was told was that you're working at HubSpot, selling some software, slinging all the HubSpots, right? Selling them off the shelf, if you will. Yeah. And you made an observation that some of our most successful customers were working with marketing agencies to deliver the work that our tool was meant to do, like compose emails, post social. So you made this observation, you went over to I'll just say former CEO, we'll leave it simple at that. And you said something to the effect of like, hey, I observed that this is happening. The data shows that our customers are more successful. And this person said to you, like, leave it alone. And so you spent the next like 6 months, this is what I was told, gathering more intel and went back to that person and said like, yo, homie, this is actually working. Yeah. And that person was like, cool, you're fired. And you were like, what? And they were like, well, actually, you're hired again. You now run a partner program, go figure it out. How far off from the actual story is that? That's like
7 telephone tags away from reality, I think.
Perfect.
But
perfect.
But like it's close enough to not be like wrong. It's just the conversations and everything were very different. Sure. Like, let me correct 2 things. So one, I was a sales rep selling HubSpot subscriptions. Back then it was just HubSpot marketing. And even then it was really like a keyword tool, which I don't even think is in the tool anymore, and a blogging platform and a form builder. We didn't have landing pages yet. So it was like really basic, and we were teaching people, all right, blog with these keywords, put a link to a form or put a form on this page and collect leads, right? So it was pretty simple then, but that itself was still more sophisticated than what most agencies were doing at the time. And they certainly weren't saying blog often, build more landing pages, build more offers. Like they weren't teaching that, or they weren't doing that for clients. They weren't teaching clients to do that. So the 2 parts that you kind of got maybe a little bit wrong. One, agencies weren't really like more successful, and customers weren't more successful with agencies. Like there was two worlds. Like we had a handful of agencies that had bought our software, and we had lots of direct customers, low hundreds of direct customers that were like using our software, and we were teaching them. There was really no mingling of it. There was a little bit, but it wasn't really like pronounced enough to say, oh, there's something there. What I had observed is that agencies were actually struggling with cash flow. And this is through conversations with a small number of agencies. And because they were selling website projects, short-term SEO engagements, and like low-value email newsletter type content for their clients.
Sure.
And so they were struggling with cash flow. And so what I realized was like, oh, well, if I can convince them to sell blogging services and sell offer creation and landing page services, then they can show their clients that they can actually methodically grow traffic and methodically grow conversions and leads on their website. And so that was the realization that we could take what our software does and teach them how to sell an ongoing retainer relationship with the client. And then the other thing that's a little bit wrong is I wasn't that subversive with Halligan. Back then, we were very experimental, and the culture encouraged kind of like experiments. And like, yeah, there were certain things. Yeah, you gotta process your deals this way, and you better follow up with your freaking leads that we just spent money generating. Like there were certain things that we had to do, but there was a lot of leeway into how we did our jobs. And so there was like this little weird process we had. It wasn't formal at the time, where like people could pitch ideas to Halligan through the management team. Like I had to convince Mark and Mike that like there was something there, and like, let me put together a deck. Let me just show you what I think. And so the first time around, like I got laughed out of the room. At the time, I think we were just raising our Series A, or we just raised our Series A, and like they knew that there was only so much the organization could execute on. And so those two things were inbound marketing and direct inbound inside sales. And they're like, this is a distraction. Volpe had worked at a company that Mike Volpe, our first CMO, had worked at HubSpot's first CMO, I should say, had worked at a company that was all channel, and like he was used to partners like bossing the company around and like, controlling how things. And so there was, and then the VP of services at the time was against it because he felt like he'd lose control if agencies were onboarding customers. So there's a lot of people that just for valid reasons were like, no, not going to do it. So I'm like, okay, can I still sell these agencies, and can I work with them? And they're like, sure. Don't screw anything up. Like, try not to distract you.
Yeah, don't break it.
Yeah. And then, and so I did that. And then I started like hitting my quota exceeding quota pretty consistently. And they're like, hey, there's something here. And so I pushed again. I said, hey, can I do this program? I put together more decks, showed some data, showed them what I thought the potential was, why agencies were excited about working with us, and how we could leverage them, and pitched again. I got another no. And so I had two big like no's on it. The final presentation, I was like crushing it with my numbers. So they're like, why don't we have Pete come back and present this? And it was like a really long meeting. I remember sweating up in the front of the room. It was like an hour and a half maybe. They were grilling me on all the potential problems that could happen. It was a good meeting. And I was literally walking out the door, and Halligan said, fine, you can start the program, but don't distract anyone. You're reporting to Volpe.